Today on Florida Sportsman Best Boat. For anglers looking to sight fish the flats and the beaches, we'll be taking a look at the Action Craft 2050 GCX, a bay boat with an overall length of 20 feet 2 inches, a beam of 8 feet, and max horsepower rating of 250. Standout features on the Action Craft 2050 GCX. With an elevated driving station, anglers are able to sight game fish on the flats and along the beaches while driving the boat from an advantageous vantage point. Having wide gunnels allows easy access both fore and aft when fighting a fish, while also providing under-gunnel rod storage. When fishing the flats and mangroves inshore, a shallow water anchor or two will ensure you hold your position no matter the conditions. If you want the ability to hunt offshore pelagics and seek out game fish in shallow backwaters, we'll be looking at the Ranger 2360 Bay Ranger, a bay boat with an overall length of 23 feet 5 inches, a beam of 8 feet 4 inches, and max horsepower rating of 300. Standout features on the Ranger 2360 Bay Ranger. A large casting deck at the bow provides a great raised platform to fish from while also creating large storage space for rods and gear. Easy console and head access via a large front opening door provides exceptional dry storage space and room for a porta potty. When sight fishing, a live well with rod holders nearby will keep your bait alive while you wait for that perfect fish to come along. If having no limits in range, fishability, luxury, and comfort is what you're seeking, we'll be taking a look at the Bahama 41, a center console with an overall length of 41 feet 3 inches, a beam of 11 feet, and max horsepower rating of 1700. Standout features on the Bahama 41. For the serious offshore fisherman, a live well system with abundant capacity and a sea chest is key for maintaining strong, healthy baits all day long, no matter how far the destination. When loading up for a weekend trip with family and friends, ample gear storage will ensure that Dad can bring all of his fishing gear with plenty of room left for the kids' water toys. Easy systems access is beneficial when maintaining and servicing pumps, batteries, and wiring for electronics, crucial items when making long offshore runs. Join our hosts George Labonte and Rick Riles as they conduct walkthroughs and review key features, all to help you decide if this is the best boat for you.
Welcome to another episode of Florida Sportsman Best Boat. I'm Florida Sportsman Boating Editor George Labonte.
And I'm Captain Rick Riles, and we're ready for another great day on the water. Let me tell you how we started today, George. The Action Craft 2050 Gulf Coast crossover. From there, we're going to Ranger, an old friend, okay, to look at their 2360 Bay Ranger, and then on to Dream World, the Bahama 41.
You better believe it. Hey, how about that Action Craft? This is a boat that really took a Texas-inspired design, that tower, which you've seen for years over in the Texas Gulf Coast, into the rest of the Gulf and now spreading into the east coast of Florida. What a great practical design for sight fishing on the flats.
Yep, let me grab the obvious joke, get it right out of the way. Anything that makes me taller is good. But that 2360 Bay Ranger, George, very solidly built. It's more offshore inspired than inshore, kind of blurs that line.
Yeah, but a great inshore boat. When you're talking about offshore though, you've gotten to the mountaintop when you jump on that Bahama 41. This is really the pinnacle of big super center consoles. I mean, that boat was finished so perfectly. Every detail is just unbelievable.
I'm a fanatic about checking the offshore weather before I go offshore. I gotta be honest, if I had a Bahama 41, I might back off that a little bit. You can handle some big water in that one.
Yeah, we're going. Hey, listen, we got a great show lined up for you. Let's get things started.
When we come back, hosts George Labonte and Rick Riles take a closer look at a boat built for serious sight fishing both inshore and offshore, the Action Craft 2050 GCX. This segment brought to you by Evinrude, the outboards that are changing everything.
The future of boating is here. Now get all the efficient performance of an Evinrude E-Tech G2 in the new 150, 175, and 200 horsepower.
Fuel economy is everything.
I was really shocked how fuel efficient it is.
Anywhere from 40 to 50 miles further on a tank of fuel.
All day on the water. I told my wife, I said, you know, I can't think of the last time I filled up.
It's more money in the bank for me.
The best-in-class fuel economy of the Evinrude E-Tech G2 is now available from 150 to 300 horsepower. To learn more, visit evinrude.com.
Welcome back to Florida Sportsman Best Boat. Join our hosts George Labonte and Rick Riles as they take a closer look at the Action Craft 2050 GCX. Representing the 17 to 24 foot class in the bay boat category, the Action Craft 2050 GCX has an overall length of 20 feet 2 inches, a beam of 8 feet, and a max horsepower rating of 250. Designed to float shallow and run comfortably over open water, she has a draft of 12 inches, a dead rise of 15 degrees, a dry weight of 1,430 pounds, and a fuel capacity of 57 gallons. Now, let's hear more from our hosts, George Labonte and Rick Riles.
Rick, we're sitting here today on the Action Craft 2050 GCX. What does GCX stand for?
Gulf Coast Crossover. And what a great description for a boat.
Absolutely, and you know what? You see this style of a boat all over Texas. I mean, this is kind of a design that was born on the Gulf Coast. I can't believe it's taken this long for this idea to get to Florida.
Well, it hadn't even scratched the surface of its potential on the east coast of Florida, certainly. You know when people want it? Once they've been in it once. You get up there, and George, I'm preaching this, and every kind of fishing we do, you can't believe how much better you can see when you get up off of the deck. Let's take a look at that whole area, because that's not a poorly thought out design. They really did their homework on that. George, how's the weather up there?
I can't even begin to tell you how much I love sitting up here. And I love sight fishing. I like to run the beach looking for tarpon. I love to run the beach looking for cobia. You climb up in this thing and you're gonna see 100 times more than you would from this deck level.
You're gonna see a fish way before your angler down on the deck is.
I can't say enough about it. You might look at this and think that this is gonna take up a lot of useful fishing room on the boat. Not one bit. In fact, it actually adds to the functionality of the boat. Your rider's under there in the shade, sitting down there. You put 2 people on either side, right? One here, one there. 1 or 2 can ride up in front. All this deck is open in the back. All that deck's open in the front. It's just a perfect fit.
You can carry rods up here, but your primary purpose up here really is to spot fish for somebody else.
And looking underneath there too, I mean, that space is not wasted. You've got your cooler hidden out of the way right there, and just everything. I mean, you've got undergunnel rod storage right there. I mean, this may be the star of the boat when you first look at it, but it's got a lot more going on for it than that. Let's take a look at the rest of the boat.
George, every hybrid bay boat type of guy faces the same problem. Where do I put my stuff?
There's only so much you can bring on a boat like this, but really, these 2 boxes are so big up here, anything you need to put on a 20-foot boat is gonna easily fit in both of these boxes. The casting deck, I mean, it's so roomy for 2 people, even 3 people to fish up here. And I also love how this boat's trimmed out in sea deck all around.
And of course, it's rigged for a trolling motor, which is the biggest game changer in bay boats there is.
Yeah, I mean, this boat wouldn't be complete without one. I want to point out, I'm standing on a really good sized live well, but that's not the end of the live wells. Wait till you see what we got going on back here.
George, as we walk toward the transom, you know how much I appreciate a wide gunnel.
Oh yeah,
It
absolutely.
does 2 things. It gives us old guys a way to get to the transom in a hurry, and those wider gunnels enable your rods to actually fit up under. You don't end up with somebody snagged in the leg.
You're exactly right, Rick. This boat can be set up, actually it's set up with 3 live wells in the back here and the one in the front. This is a release well here, but there's so much capacity for bait, and the capacity of those 3 wells and that one up in the front suits my fishing style perfectly. You've got 2 rider seats. That seat flips up the whole length of the boat going from one side to the other. As if that wasn't enough storage up there, that's also storage underneath here. We've also got something that's really helpful fishing back up here in the shallow water, 2 power poles. I like 2 to pin you in one spot where the bow's not swinging back and forth.
And that's how you do it. You drop both poles and it can't spin either way. Great idea.
Rick, Action Craft builds the top of this boat over what they call the qui-dry hull. Now that qui-dry means, it's gonna be quiet and dry. And the boat is. The boat feels really solid when you're running. It's just a super stable, solid feeling boat. They've got a down angle chine to push some of that spray down, and the entry on the boat, not a lot of hull slap. This boat really rode like a champ. Okay, Rick, this Gulf Coast crossover has really won me. This is an ideal boat for my kind of fish, and as I said, I can just imagine chasing tarpon on the beach, looking around for fish back in this backwater. This is an idea that's not going away anytime soon.
Oh, it's never going away, George. The picture of me standing up here spotting redfish that are as far as that sandbar way over there when nobody else can see them yet is just priceless. What a great boat for being able to sight fish shallow water.
When we return, hosts George Labonte and Rick Riles step aboard a boat designed to fish with the family from backcountry to blue water, the Ranger 2360 Bay Ranger. This segment brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here.
At Yamaha, reliability is a family tradition. Meet the next generation. 4 new advanced technology-inspired inline 4-cylinder performers. Bred from the reliability and boater satisfaction that is part of Yamaha's DNA. They prove that when power gets lighter, faster, stronger, and smarter, boating gets even better and more satisfying for boaters like you.
Welcome back to Florida Sportsman Best Boat. Join us as we meet up with Lisa Purro, host of Trophy Taker Outdoors, to discuss the benefits of the Evinrude G2 in this week's Power segment.
If you're looking to purchase a new boat or just repower, look at Evinrude. The Evinrude E-Tech G2 has 5-year, 500 hours running time before your first maintenance. What this means, no break-in period, no gear lube to change, just get on the water and turn the key. The Evinrude E-Tech G2 is the easiest to maintain, operate, and easiest on the wallet. And I'll tell you why. Whether I'm fishing or hunting on the water, the no break-in period, fuel efficiency, and low maintenance saves me time and money. Evinrude, the first outboard ever made. My dad relied on it 30 years ago, and I rely on it now.
Now, let's check out the Ranger 2360 Bay Ranger. Representing the 17 to 24 foot class in the bay boat category, the Ranger 2360 Bay Ranger has an overall length of 23 feet 5 inches, a beam of 8 feet 4 inches, and a max horsepower rating of 300. Built for a dry, comfortable ride inshore and offshore, she has a draft of 16 inches, a dead rise of 14 degrees, a dry weight of 3,400 pounds, and a fuel capacity of 81 gallons. Now, let's hear more from our hosts, George Labonte and Rick Riles.
George, we're here today on the Ranger 2360. I think it's impossible, if you look back at the history of fishing, to draw a line from rowboats to today without seeing a Ranger footprint every step of the way.
Oh, absolutely, Rick. 100% agree with you. You know, one of the things, times are changing, fishing's changing, the way we fish is changing, and Ranger has been there every step of the way, changing with the times.
Yeah, and you're seeing a lot of evolutionary things going on. It never used to be families on the water all the time, but I tell you what took me from the get-go with this boat. We know the dimensions, okay? It's a 2360. Gosh, it's big.
It is big, Rick. Actually, for a 23-footer, there's a lot of room inside this boat. It's very stable and very solid, but really, really seaworthy, too. I mean, this is a much bigger boat, by my mind, when you're in it running than when you're standing here looking at it on the beach.
Finally, I think it's time to get on board, and let's take this thing apart piece by piece.
Okay, Rick, we said that times are changing and boats are changing with them. This boat, raised deck, which gives you a little bit of storage underneath it, actually a great deal of storage underneath it, but also it's not raised all the way up, it's a recessed deck. You can put your toes up against it, you don't feel like you're gonna fall off the boat.
And you're right, you can store everything you need for the weekend under this deck, and you got plenty of room.
In addition to all these boxes, of course, what do we have to have here?
We have to have a pedestal seat. George, I'm telling you, I can see a 72-foot Ranger, okay, long-range sport fisherman, it's got a pedestal seat on the bow.
I guarantee
it's still a Ranger.
Rick, another thing that really jumps out at me here is the size of this console. For a 23-foot boat, this thing is exceptionally large, but have a look at this.
Oh, let me tell you, I love a front door opening.
I mean, there's plenty of room to store stuff and put a porta potty in there. You've got all kinds of space to store things that you want to keep dry. It's really neat.
But it's not too big for the boat. This top is so big, okay, that it gives you the kind of shade you need, but it's so easy to fish around.
You know what I love about it is it's long. It carries all the way from this front seat to behind the helmsman. At the same time, you've got this shade, but it doesn't creep out into the fishing space on the boat.
Let's work our way back. The console gets more impressive the further back you go. George, we see more guys every year coming down from their big sport fish boats, getting into boats like this that they can still fish offshore if they want to. Nobody's quite ready to give up that neat teak finish yet, are they?
Yeah, it dresses this boat up really nice.
You've got it in a few places. You've got it on your footrest here too, but it's not overstated. It just makes the helm look so classy.
It is a classy accent, I agree.
Back on the size of this console again, George, it's plenty wide enough for 2 big screens.
Oh yeah.
Plus you've got a windshield that actually comes around and comes back that helps keep them dry.
Rick, when you get inside of this leaning station here, you're gonna find all your batteries. You're gonna find your bait well pump, which is in a great location. It's a cassette pump. You can easily swap the pump out. If you're fishing in the middle of the day and your pump dies, spin the pump off, cut 2 wires, put it back together, and you're back in business.
George, I really like the integrated live well system like this. For one thing, it's very easy to get a bait out of there.
I love being able to stand up and get my bait out of there. That is a big plus for me.
We got 30 gallons of water in here. That's a lot of weight.
240 pounds.
Right. Do we get a little better center of gravity if we move it forward like this?
Absolutely. Better hole shot, not having that additional weight back here, for sure.
And you know how much I love sight fishing. What a perfect setup. Your rod is right here. Your pitch bait can go in the well. There's not even a standpipe for him to get around. Every year it seems like they tweak this stuff and they use space a little bit better. All the way from the lower casting platform up front to the solid transom, there's a reason why the stuff on this boat works. As a total package, it comes together awfully well for a 23-foot boat.
It does. It's really thoughtfully laid out.
When we come back, hosts George Labonte and Rick Riles check out a boat built with the detail-oriented, hardcore offshore angler in mind, the Bahama 41. This segment brought to you by Suzuki Marine, the ultimate four-stroke outboard. Welcome back to Florida Sportsman Best Boat. Join our hosts Rick Riles and George Labonte as they check out the Bahama 41. Representing the 31 to 53-foot class in the center console category, the Bahama 41 has an overall length of 41 feet 3 inches, a beam of 11 feet, and a max horsepower rating of 1,700. Designed with exceptional range and offshore fishability in mind, she has a draft of 23 inches, a dead rise of 24 degrees, a dry weight of 9,500 pounds, and a fuel capacity of 580 gallons. Now, let's hear more from our hosts, George Labonte and Rick Riles.
George, every boat we step on, I try to find a phrase to describe it or a single word. The only thing I can come up with for the Bahama 41 is wow.
A 41-foot center console is not that uncommon these days. This thing is an absolute beast.
George, remember, a lot of guys that have the big sport fish boats are ready to get rid of their captains and step to something they can do themselves. This is it. You still have the big boat feel.
Absolutely. Well, there's a ton of stuff to go over on this boat. Let's have a look at her. Rick, have a seat on my transom sofa.
There sure is a whole lot of room back here.
This cockpit is massive. I mean, you won't see one bigger on any center console boat.
But doesn't the term clean come to mind? Totally uncluttered, okay? Just room to fish.
You know, Rick, from the size of the cockpit and the real estate here to the Helmmaster with mezzanine seating in the back, I mean, you feel like you're in a big sports fish boat in this open cockpit. Under this hatch, you've got a false deck. I mean, you've got dry storage in there in the bilge. The actual bilge underneath it, you've got clear lids covering everything. There's pump room. You've got pump access systems, through hulls, all accessible in a huge space. You don't just access it, you can get in there to work on the stuff. This thing is laid out like a big boat inside.
Think of the name of the boat, the Bahama. It was designed for long-range trips, the Bahamas being one of the premier destinations.
Yeah, and if you're in the Bahamas, you're diving, you're getting in and out of the boat through that door right there, loading your gear, loading the big fish through it, perfect. 80-gallon live well underneath us here, fresh and saltwater sink under me. I mean, this really, I mean, you've got the best of both worlds right here.
Not only is it 80 gallons, it's actually the next step in an 80-gallon live well.
Yeah, this is serious business here. I mean, you've got a sea chest. It comes with 2 pumps. You can pressurize it, but there's 40 more feet of this boat to look at. Let's go have a look at the helm. Rick, not many boats can fit a helm station the size of this one in it. I mean, but this one, you've got that mezzanine seating back there we talked about, but you've got storage in there too. You've got tackle trays and drawers in the back, cup holders, rod holders everywhere. I mean, it's loaded with stuff. This is a really well thought out giant helm station. But moving forward from this, Rick, I'm a big fan of this electronics box. You've got this recessed area in here. You know, got a carbon fiber backdrop in here. I like the dark color inside. Also backlit, all the switch panel, indicator lights on everything. Really well thought out. All of your instrumentation up here on this extra garment screen up overhead, and this overhead box is big. You've got a dry storage compartment in there where you can put paperwork, documents when you're going to the Bahamas, hide it up inside there, get it out of the weather. Rick, this hardtop gives you a massive amount of shade, which is so important when you're in the Bahamas. I mean, the tropical sun, even here in Florida. The hardtop's got a pass-through to get up in there. There's a tower on this one. It doesn't have controls in it. You can get it with controls. Getting that added height visibility advantage is great. Step inside this console and you're going to find you're standing up with 6.5 feet of headroom, working through a huge space in a standing position on the most meticulously wired, thoughtfully laid out design that you're going to find on a center console boat.
Well, you're right, and that's a big plus, but just think about the fact she's got 13 feet below deck.
Yeah, the storage underneath this console is huge, Rick. You've got room to carry all that gear and everything you could ever need for an extended trip down below in the space they provide you.
Okay, George, we're halfway there. We've got a long way to go still. Let's get up toward the bow.
Here we go. Stay with me, Rick. Ah, I'm out of breath.
Let me tell you what, it's a long ways up here, but they didn't waste an inch from the console all the way to the bow.
You know what, look at the size of this. I mean, everything about this boat is big and the bow is no exception. I've never been a big fan of forward seating, and you know why?
Because you lose so much room up here in the bow.
I have to be able to come up here and fish around the bow. They've solved that problem with this boat. You've got two huge seats right here, but all open right there. I love it. They're both insulated fish boxes that drain overboard. Now, you open this box up, they are huge. The space in that center deck is so big, an additional huge storage box right there as well.
She's 41 feet long, but every inch is thought out and clean as it can be.
It's got all the advantages of a sports car and all the advantages of a big sport fish boat wrapped up in a one package. I can't imagine anything I'd change on this boat.
Wow, you talk about covering a broad spectrum of boats. We went about from soup to nuts today, didn't we?
We did. Hey, listen, I got to spend an entire day on that Action Craft Gulf Coast crossover. What a day I had on that boat. That was just a really impressive little boat.
But that 2360 Bay Ranger was a great all-purpose tool. That was a Swiss Army knife.
And Rick, for an offshore boat, I mean, it's hard to beat that Bahama 41. Just a perfect boat.
They're all great boats in their own right. That was a lot of fun.
You better believe it. Hey, if you'd like any more information about the boats you've seen today, or any boat you see on Florida Sportsman Best Boat, visit floridasportsman.com.
Or we'll see you next week on another edition of Florida Sportsman Best Boat.
When filming for Florida Sportsman Best Boat, the cast and crew docked and dined at Pirates Cove Marina in Stuart, Florida. Family owned and operated, featuring 50 renovated rooms with an outstanding restaurant and a full-service 50-slip marina. Each month, turn to Florida Sportsman for the best in boating and fishing coverage.